Hello and welcome to Technically Speaking, where scientists and engineers come together to chat about a common interest, share knowledge and satisfy some curiosity. I'm Laura and I'm joined by Antonia and Ellie to talk about the seasons and whether they are different now to when we were little kids. So Antonia, you were the one that came with this idea that the seasons aren't the same as they used to be. So do you want to tell us about it?
As far as I can remember, I've lived in the UK and we all learn we have 4 distinct seasons: spring, summer, autumn and winter. And I feel like it's not really stuck to it, or they're not as different as each other. They kind of blend together and we get some periods of hot weather in like as early as April this year. And then winter is, we don't get a white Christmas. It's just kind of wet.
I can kind of relate to some of that, but because I've moved around the country a little bit, I'm not too sure if the different areas have got their own different types of seasons anyway. But I do feel like the winter is wetter than it used to be when I lived in the northeast. Now I'm in the northwest. Ellie, have you come across any evidence of this from your science journalism, that the seasons aren't as distinct as they used to be in the UK or anywhere else in the world?
Yeah, there's this interesting new study from the University of York and the London School of Economics, and instead of like a sort of, mathematical shift, it's more of a like conceptual shift in people's minds of like, yes, we still have different periods with different daylight lengths, but now it's just hotter, like Antonia said, in April to October, whereas before it was like, June and August were the summer months, June, July and August. And they are suggesting 4 new types of season instead of the traditional 4. And these are like either extinct seasons, so there's a suggestion that what we've always known is no longer relevant, emergent seasons, which would be the new ones that didn't previously exist in like an area, and then also arrhythmic and syncopated seasons, which are like different ones, like different timings and irregular fluctuations. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. I think there's like a fundamental difference between how seasons are created now, given like astronomy and like the angle of Earth and daylight and stuff, versus how we as human beings on Earth are experiencing what we would call typical weather in August or typical weather in December.
Okay, so you said this was, did you say it was a London School of Economics study, not necessarily a climate science study?
Yes, this is like the difference of like, this is how people feel or what they're perceiving versus like, obviously the day length isn't changing. So like the seasons are mainly controlled by day length and weather, but that's related to like the angle of the Earth and sunshine and all of that sort of thing. Versus like something like wildfire season, which is not a strict term in and of itself, is now all year round because all year round is now just hotter.
Oh, okay, you mean like wildfires in California, so you don't tend to have them in the UK?
Yeah, not so much in the UK, but yeah, in California, which has always been quite a moderate climate all year round anyway. I guess now is even more warm all year round. What causes wildfires, like dry and warm. So yeah, maybe it is something like that.
Antonia, is this sort of helping understand whether it's not just your perception, it's a genuine thing? Because we're sort of talking about this, the research that Ellie's talking about is talking about having this perception.
This definitely correlates, and it's kind of not reassuring, but validating.
Yeah, it doesn't feel reassuring at all. Actually.
No, it kind of brings more attention to the fact that climate change isn't sometime in the future. We've kind of reached it. We've hit climate change today.
Yeah, there are a few like documented news stories about summers getting hotter in the northern hemisphere, and there's a new record high temperature in continental Europe. So it's all supporting the fact, what you say, climate change is here now. It's too late to try and mitigate these immediate effects. We kind of have to live with change and try and mitigate any further effects.
Yeah, and I think the adaptation to a societal sort of expectation, but I just think it will definitely have some other effects if things just aren't the same. Because, for example, a lot of information is based on history, so we'd have to now go, right, that might not be applicable today anymore. We might just have to use even computer modelling, try and forecast it that way instead of using historic data to create forecasts.
Because the historic data don't match with current climate trends.
Yeah.
Well, all you see now, if historic data is lower, right? Like, all we ever get is that was the hottest July on record, or the hottest temperature ever reached in Europe was 2021. So then it's like, well, historically it just wasn't that hot, so then it doesn't line up.
Yeah, we keep reaching new records. Like, every year is becoming a record
Hotter.
year.
I wonder if that's true for the other ones, though. Is that true for, like, when is typical rainfall? I guess winter or snowfall. Oh, is it getting wetter every December?
Yeah, I tried looking at some of the journal articles from scientists to see if there was anything definitive about the UK. And it might just been that I wasn't using the best search terms, but I didn't really find anything particularly comprehensive, which surprised me a little bit because we're so interested in the weather and the effect it has on us. We know climate change is a thing.
And, you know, we constantly use the weather as the start of a conversation.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, I did find something in a statistical journal that kind of supports Antonia's idea about the seasons are less distinct. So it took data going back to the 1700s, and I don't know where they got that data from necessarily. I guess they inferred it from natural records. And they did say that the summers and the winters are less different now than they were in the 1700s. So there you go. There does seem to be some truth, although Antonia's not that old.
I wonder if they got the temperature data from the 1700s through, like, diary entries, or was there actually a scientist recording temperature back then?
I hope someone was probably monitoring it. There's, like, long-term studies of, like, people just looking at the flowers in their garden, so someone was probably recording the temperature.
Yeah, that would be important for if you're growing food or plants, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. It's so strange, this idea of, like, the seasons changing, because that is such a part of, like, rural life in England, of, like, you eat potatoes in the winter and you eat, strawberries in the summer because that's when they grow. So if we're having the seasons change or be longer, I mean, it's a bit different now because you can go to Sainsbury's at any time and buy strawberries whenever you want, but, like, this is the point, is that they're not necessarily going to be flown in from Spain. They could be grown here all year round.
Yeah, I suppose we already have fought against the seasons by buying food from other climates, essentially.
Yeah, isn't that the problem, isn't it? Like, our love of having strawberries all year round has contributed this. Think of the air miles, think of the carbon.
I don't think they taste as good in other seasons, I'll be honest.
No, you're right. You are right. British strawberries grown in the summer
It's peak strawberry.
are just tastier.
But then again, if strawberries are ripened by long, hot, sunny periods, right? So climate change might actually be helpful there. We can get strawberries grown in the UK.
More strawberries.
I didn't know that, but that also correlates with my strawberries getting too soggy and not fruiting yet. They've just had a single flower and very fungally leaves.
That's upsetting.
It is.
Then again, if winters are also getting warmer, I can see that would be a bad thing because some plants need a cold period before they'll germinate, don't they?
Yeah.
It's like garlic when you put it in your fridge because you want to keep it fresh and then it starts sprouting.
So that's why we don't keep some fruit and veg in the fridge, because actually it triggers something in them, like growth.
I would guess so, yeah.
It seems counterintuitive though, because generally you want warmer things, because then at warmer temperatures, because then you get more energy, and that's what you use for growing, so or chemical reactions.
Yeah, but I guess some plants have evolved to take advantage of a niche when there's cold weather, so maybe there is less competition with plants. So there's an evolutionary advantage to them germinating after a cold period. They get ahead of the other plants.
Yeah, because the frost kills them off, right? So they have to wait until it's not frosty anymore and then germinate, because if you germinate too early and it's frosty, then you lose all that growth and then you die.
Now, I did find one study about something called mouse ear cress, which is essentially a weed. Grows throughout Europe, I think, but there's some natural variation on when that germinates after a cold period, which I thought was quite encouraging because it means species are a bit more resilient than you'd think. And the mouse ear cress in particular germinated at higher cold temperatures than people thought they would.
I guess that's also the thing, is that we don't know, right? Like, it's never happened like this before, so all we have are predictions of what could happen. But we don't know for certain that mouse ear cress wouldn't survive if it got hotter in whatever season or colder.
Well, people would have tried to grow it in other climates, right? And it might be a struggle, but, there'll always be the odd few that kind of make it. So I think that's why there's guidelines. So when I buy plants, it says generally hardy or could be,
Least helpful advice. It's more of a try it and see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's true, because people try and grow I don't know, lemons and stuff in the UK, but typically it's not so good unless you grow them indoors.
Or wine. There are now wine regions in the UK.
Now that is a positive change. Though I think it's probably bad because it's shifting, right? It's not, we've got all the wine production we had in France and Spain and South Africa that we had before. It's now too hot in those regions, so they have to come up to us to have the similar temperatures.
You've got to wonder beyond plant life as well, though. What about animals that migrate? Are they going to be affected?
Well, I was trying to look into this, and what I could find was that it didn't seem to be a temperature change. It was mainly related to day length, which I find really interesting because it's they have this sort of, there's a German word for it that I now can't remember, but it's basically fidgetiness, that they know biologically that they should migrate. And then that coupled with external factors and the change in day length sets them off on their journey. But that wouldn't change because obviously that's predetermined and it's not something we're influencing. But what would change is the temperatures from where they started and where they get to. And I think they do it mainly for food availability, right? So if now suddenly you're migrating from a cold place to a warm place for winter and there's loads of yummy tasty bugs, why would you ever go back if it's just temperate all year round and there's a food availability all year round? But then I think the light levels will still change, so that it would still be biologically triggered to go home or back to wherever your initial place was.
Ah, that's interesting.
Interesting.
But then it could be too hot when you get there, or there might not be any bugs to eat. It should be a disaster.
I did read one study about the resilience of whales that migrate, and they did seem to be affected by the temperature, so they'd migrate earlier in the year because the water was warmer.
Oh, that's interesting, because that is what they are looking for, right? Because a lot of them go up from Antarctica up past Australia to get to the warmer waters to breed, and then they go back.
Yeah, and they looked at two slightly different species, and they said it's not a problem yet because they're not currently overlapping the time when they're in the warm water, but they're becoming very slightly different phases, so eventually they will start to clash.
And then I guess there's not enough krill or whatever they're eating to sustain both populations.
Yeah, so it's reassuring that they can respond so quickly to the changing climate, but they're responding in different ways.
Which is good and bad, I guess.
Because we were having this discussion about what we're doing to the oceans. If, say, krill was better in warmer temperatures, then what if we got too many whales in the oceans?
More whales! We're still repairing the damage we did to whales, so I reckon more whales is fine.
We can take it.
And also, there's such a benefit to all other species. Whale poop is so important for the ocean that I reckon more whales is good. It must be a critical mass of whales, but I don't think we're there yet.
Yeah, not after the whaling industry and climate change and fishing.
Yeah.
I remember, now this was a while ago, and I couldn't actually find the name of the documentary, so that's unhelpful. But I want to say it was either on the BBC or Channel 4. And it was about how difficult it is to predict snow in Manchester, specifically, because it's not quite coastal. It's just a little bit inland.
Yeah.
And it's in the northwest where there's typically a lot of rainfall. And it's kind of flat, kind of almost, I guess I don't know what the geographical term is, because it's not on mountains, it's not quite a valley, it's just flat.
Just low-lying, I guess.
Yeah. And I wonder if we'll have other situations where simply it's just too hard to predict what weather is doing.
I mean, how is forecasting done now, right? They have satellites monitoring things, she says, not being a meteorologist. But that process will still be up there. So however they predict temperatures and stuff now, I guess they can do it in the future. It just presumably will get better. / will we be able to know further in advance what it will be 3 months from now? Or will it be too unpredictable? Will it be too temperamental?
Maybe this is the case for AI to spot trends. Because I want to say models generally use historic data, because trying to model it from the ground up and from the theoretical basis can be too computational heavy.
So I guess going back to that study that Ellie mentioned near the start about changing our relationship with the seasons, I guess you just have to sort of learn to expect the unexpected in that case if we can't really predict it.
I guess that all means that we'll be having a picnic in the park in December for Christmas dinner rather than cooking like a full roast. Because you're not going to want to eat like, well, I'm not going to want to eat roast turkey, but you know what I mean? Like a full roast in the height of August now does not sound appealing.
Like heavy, warm food.
Yeah, but a picnic, lovely. I'll have a picnic for Christmas tea in the park.
People already do this, say in Australia, because their seasons are backwards to the UK. So they have a barbecue for Christmas.
That sounds great. What would get me, though, is that this thing comes... I keep going on about this, about daylight, because it would be hot, but it would be December. So at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, it would be pitch black but boiling, but 30 degrees. But maybe it wouldn't then, if the sun's gone down.
I think it would get cold really quickly, like being in a desert.
Yeah.
That's true. But also, with the expectations of climate change, we're only expecting, say, like, a few degrees increase average. I don't think we're going to be getting quite as hot as 30 in winter, thankfully.
No, I've already experienced some Februaries where you can walk around in shorts and t-shirt in like one of the valleys near me, and I live in the Lake District, which has got its own microclimates anyway, but it just seems a bit odd that you can just be there like it's summer in February in the north of England.
I'm sure we had a year where there was like 26, 27 degrees in February for like 3 or 4 days and everyone was wearing shorts and t-shirts. So weird.
Yeah, and it's meant to be like round about freezing instead.
Yeah. I guess like on a social level, we'd just be doing different stuff. Like, what do you normally do in February? Go skiing with your family? Some people do. But that wouldn't be a thing, right? If it's so hot that you're walking around in shorts and t-shirt and there's not going to be any snow.
No, not unless you want to travel.
I think there might still be on the north side.
Yeah, I guess it depends on the, like, very specific areas. Like the coldest areas now.
Because the temperature will still be quite cold at the top of the mountain and if it's always in shade.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit, but obviously it's not going to be as much as before.
No, you've got me worried about the camping that I do as well now, if it's going to get hotter and potentially drier. I've already had a few instances over the years where there's been some unexpected weather. So it was April and I was on a mountain and it wasn't meant to snow, and it did.
Oh no.
Yeah, and I just had enough gear to not be too cold and then beat a hasty retreat because the wind picked up as well. And then I got down at the valley and again it was like 20 degrees and ridiculously hot.
I feel like April is the most cantankerous month because it can really go like Easter can be gloriously sunny, or it can just pee it down the whole time, or it can snow. All bets are off in April. Anything can happen.
Yeah, it used to just be called April showers, but I feel like April was really dry this year.
Yes, I'm trying to think back what I was doing in April. I was on holiday with you. And it was wet. It was wet in Menorca, but I don't know if that's typical of that time of year.
But also, just before, there was a bit of a heat wave, and so it prepared us for what was supposed to be hot weather in Menorca, and it was cold and wet.
This is the thing now, is like, going on holiday doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have better weather than you are in the UK. Which I feel like was always a given when I was a child.
Maybe that means we'll actually holiday in our own country and fly less.
Well, maybe more people will come to us. If it's too hot, if it's 48 degrees in Italy, that's unbelievably hot to do anything. So if you want a nice, 27 to 30, come to the UK for your holiday.
That's a good point. And there was something I also thought was, will we still have autumn? Because is it the cold that triggers trees to lose their leaves?
It's got to be daylight length, surely.
I think some research I saw said it was falling temperatures. And it did, I'm pretty sure it specified a biological mechanism, but I can't remember off the top of my head. But they stopped making chlorophyll. I guess it becomes energy inefficient to do so. And I guess maybe it's just the falling temperature ties in with having shorter days, at least where we are anyway.
Yeah, I think it's like a storage system, right? Like all summer, the tree tries to make enough sugars to last through winter so that when it loses its leaves, it's got that store.
Right. So it's not shortening days that trigger them to stop generating chlorophyll, but it's actually falling temperatures.
Well, I think it might be a bit of both.
Yeah. Which came first?
I think it's never just one thing. I don't think you can ever say that. It's usually like a combination of factors about how it interacts with its environment.
All this is making me think that nature might actually be more able to adapt to the effects of climate change than humans will be. Because we'll all sit here going, oh, it's not like it used to be when I were a kid.
We're so
The
bitter.
plants and animals will just get on with it.
I mean, they've got no choice, right? Like, not that we do either, but we can at least, you can wear shorts and t-shirt, you can buy a portable air conditioning unit, you can do whatever. Like, a tree that doesn't really have a choice. Either it's too hot for the tree to survive, or it's, coping.
I suppose they also don't really have the capability to complain about it whilst doing something about it.
Yeah, there's nothing they can do.
No, it depends on their genetic diversity, whether they've got some mechanism in there that's been lying dormant that will suddenly start to be activated by the change of the seasons. Which I guess means there's a limit to how much disturbance nature can tolerate, because it can only change so quickly, can't it?
Yeah, I mean, evolution is incredibly slow. Which is the whole problem with climate change and global warming, is that species can't adapt fast enough to the rate of increase that we have at the moment in terms of global temperature rise. Wow, that was a depressing sentence.
I was just wondering if we wanted to leave it there on a mortal note.
We can bring it back. We'll be all drinking wine and holidaying on the beach in October.
In the UK.
In the UK.
But everywhere else, questionable.
Well, yeah, I did a podcast for work about whether we're living through the 6th mass extinction, and the professor was saying that, like, if you're in the UK, yes, your summers get hotter and it's all quite nice. If you're in the Mediterranean, your summers get hotter and, okay, it's a bit uncomfortable, but you can manage. But if you're in North Africa or below, your summers get hotter and you die because it's too hot. So yeah, it's pretty depressing.
So we're not bringing this back round to a happy, whimsical ending.
It tried, but it didn't happen.
Do we want to leave it there then, on that bit of a bombshell that
we're doomed?
Yeah, well, things need to change quite rapidly. We need to change how society does things as a whole on a global scale to avoid lots of people being not just uncomfortable but having their society destroyed.
Yeah, that is the thing that the professor was saying as well. He was like, the key difference between all the previous mass extinctions and this one is the fact that we are now conscious life forms capable of changing the things that have made this process happen in the first place. This is not the result of like a big asteroid or volcanoes. This is
within our control.
Human-made climate change and therefore seasonal change. And we can change it back.
So what we're saying is everyone needs to start adapting now and just get on with it.
Yeah.
That sounds a bit more positive than we're all doomed.
We were doomed and then we figured it out.
That's what we want to hear.
Mobilised to sort out this problem we've created. That would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah. And then we can have some wine on the beach and a barbecue for Christmas.
So it sounds like that's a good place to leave it. So having started off with Antonia's speculation that the seasons aren't the same as they used to be when she was a child about 20-30 years ago, we've sort of found some evidence that says, yeah, they're really not. And it's to do with climate change. And although nature may be fine to an extent, human society needs to change quite drastically to adapt to this change in nature that we've created. So there you go. I hope you've enjoyed listening to this, and we'll see you next time. The views expressed in this podcast belong entirely to the person that said them. They do not represent any industry or organisation. If you enjoyed listening to these views, it would really help us out if you could rate us, leave a review and tell a friend. This podcast was sponsored by no one, but if you're interested in funding us to continue to have frank discussions about science and engineering, please get in touch.